All right. So I'm going to bring in Mark now into the call. Mark, can you hear me? Cool. I can't hear you if you can hear me or whatever. Hopefully Mark will point in. Or maybe Mark forgot about us. He was like, you said,
there we go.
Here we go. Hey, Mark.
Hey, man.
Let me also bring you into the thing.
I was trying to lower my mic, and then I realized it was already lowered.
Oh, I see. You went too far.
Yeah, I was just feeling on the side of it. Like, where the fuck did it go?
Gotcha. Well, you're here now, and that's all that matters. All right, everybody. So let's give a warm welcome to Mark. Mark is here. Hey, Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hey, guys.
Never heard that before.
Yeah.
It's a classic. So yeah, Mark is our game director for Satisfactory. If this is the first time seeing Mark, Mark has appeared on a couple of streams in the past. It's been a while now, actually, I think, but here we are. Mark is back. Mark gives the best updates on what actually is the rationale behind design decisions in the game, because he actually knows them.
I try.
So yeah, there's there's so much to talk about update 6. It's rough that we reveal everything at the same time, because like, where do we even begin? But I kind of just wanted to touch upon like the whole reasoning behind why we're focusing on the exploration aspect specifically, and like what do you think? What would you say is like the main goal with the changes that we're doing for this update?
I mean, you mentioned in the video, I think quite well, that we've kind of always pushed it under everything else, right? We felt it's underdeveloped. It's one of our selling points, I think, in Satisfactory, that we have a handcrafted map, and that it features exploration, that you can kind of compensate in different parts of the game by exploring and get different things done that way. But we have always focused a lot on different aspects of the game, and haven't really been able to focus as much on this part of the game. And it's not just about going out there and fighting creatures and getting the rewards. It's also things like the map and the MAM to us are part of the whole exploration gameplay loop. We've been wanting to improve that for a while now.
Right. Yeah, because I think that's we haven't talked too much about that yet, and I think I think that will make more sense when we actually reveal more things that we're making. But yeah, the whole goal here isn't necessarily just to like make the environment look more fancy and like so you can go out and pew more enemies. Like it's the whole game loop, right? And the aspects of that.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
it's essentially bringing that part of the game to the same quality level, maybe not the same amount of quality, but definitely the same quality level as the rest of the game.
Right.
So especially things like our AI, we've always kind of felt like it's not that good. We have some issues there. We've had problems with creatures spawning in really late, for example, or just AI having issues with terrain and navigation. And we feel it kind of undermines also the rest of the game, right? Like, it's a part of the game, so it needs to be good. It needs to fit in with the rest. And that means that it has to be the same kind of quality standard.
Yeah, gotcha. So we're going to talk about the overclocking stuff. I think this is a pretty big topic right now in our community. I'm thinking if there's anything else to mention. We will probably get around to like if there's any questions you guys have, we might dive into that. But so let's address the elephant in the room or whatever, and talk about overclocking. So what is the from your point of view, like what is the main rationale behind why you came to us and were like, hey, we might change the overclocking? Like what was the big
there's different points there. So for one, right, it's an exploration tied in feature, hence that we're looking at it now, because it's all about collecting these slugs to then overclock. And something that we have felt for a while is that the slug's value isn't that high to a certain group of players because of the fact that overclocking isn't that good. Because the trade-off that is there, where you trade basically getting an easier solution to either producing more or saving space or just getting rid of an annoying problem in your production line, it requiring more power, that trade-off to a lot of players we have seen isn't really worth it. And that undermines the value of the slugs, and that undermines the value of spending time on exploration, right?
Mark's headset is a bit funky sometimes. You're just like turn into a robot.
Am I roboting again?
Yeah. And it comes and goes, but it's fine now.
I don't know. what is causing that.
Yeah, it's weird. Anyway,
You can still hear me
yeah,
properly
yeah,
though?
yeah, 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 yeah. I'll give you a heads up if it happens.
But that's kind of the reason that we started looking at it. And I mean, there's basically three main reasons why we looked at it this way, to make it linear. And increasing the value of slugs and thus exploration is one of them, because we want players to see multiple different ways of solving a problem, and one of those could be then going exploring to get more slugs to solve a problem in your factory, right?
Mm.
And we want that solution to be a valid solution. And then there is the thing where we see that there's probably an issue for new players, that they see this overclocking thing and think like, hey, that is nice. I can solve this problem way easier this way, especially if they have a small factory, then they probably have enough shards to solve a bunch of their issues.
Yeah.
Or just expand their production. But then they don't realize that they use more power.
Yeah.
And that's, of course, something that they might have to learn, or that we could give more feedback on. But we also saw the option, like, if we just remove the exponential increase in power, we don't even have to solve that problem in another way. It just disappears.
There's definitely like a subset of people when they play the game that like constantly run into power issues, and they're just like, why? I feel like I'm making a lot of power. And it might be the case where like they are overclocking a lot and not like realizing just how significant that power change is. Because it's not super obvious when you do overclock that the power requirements change. Because I believe when you drag the power overclocking slider, it doesn't update the like in output values immediately. It just shows you like, or how does it work again? There's something with when you drag the slider, it doesn't actually update until actually the factory starts producing stuff.
Yeah, I think a lot of the values only update when it has completed a new cycle.
Yeah. So
I'm not sure if that's. I think that is still currently the case when it comes to the production window in a production building. So you have a value that updates right away at the target value on the bottom side next to the slider. But the actual values, like all the values, will only update, I think, later.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong about that, because we have done updates on that in the past as well to improve that.
Yeah, there's something I remember, because I do all like the way I use overclocking a lot of times is to even out ratios, because I'm lazy and I don't want to do too much math. So sometimes I'll always have like one or two factory buildings where like, if I just overclock this to like 125 or whatever, it'll be an even ratio and I don't have to care about the issues with that, and I'll just live with that. And I think like a lot of people that start out do it that way. To just get the even split, if they care about that stuff.
But then we got the first two reasons. So we got the low-level player, as we call it, the low-level player reason, where they don't understand how the system works and fuck themselves over, essentially, which is something that we don't want, of course. Then we have the value of the slugs. And then lastly, we have the thing where we see a lot of high-end players. We're assuming that quite a few high-end players are at some point starting to overclock, even though they know that this in a way is less efficient, just because they want to keep playing the game. And they have a lot of buildings in their factory and their computers are starting to have issues. So then a valid way to fix that for them is to overclock. But we don't want them to have to undermine the thing that is probably important to them, which is efficiency in their factory, to keep playing the game. We would rather have it that it kind of goes hand in hand, of course.
Yeah.
But then the difficult thing with this whole solution is that it's, of course, not the only solution to any of these problems. Like, we could increase the value of slugs by giving them another purpose. That might be nice, and then players might have to pick on how they want to use the slugs. We could improve the feedback on when you use exponential power. We could improve the balancing of power if people are really struggling with power to solve the problem that way. There's probably other solutions as well that we haven't considered for any of these problems, really, and for high-end players as well.
Yeah.
To make sure that they don't run into the building cap as quickly.
Because that is also like an aspect that maybe not a lot of people, now that we sort of lead you guys into this, but when we prompt you about this and asking your opinions about this, like the problems that we have here can be solved in many ways, and this is one way to solve them. Like, and I know a lot of people have given like different takes on like, what if you do like linear up into 100% and then do exponential, or do keep the trade-off when you're going over 100%, but don't have it when you go under, and stuff like that. And there's a lot of different ways you could do this, and I don't know if we'll ever hit like a magical, like everyone's happy, we solved all the issues, we compromised. Because we are solving sort of different problems, and people might even see different problems when they talk about the overclocking issues and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's just something we have to accept, because I don't think we can make everyone happy, and I don't think, no matter what the decision is now that we make for this, I mean, some people are gonna think it's not the right choice. But there is always that difference as well between the theoretical idea of how this is going to impact your play compared to how it actually affects you when you're actually playing.
Yeah.
So a big thing that we've been talking a lot about this since like Monday, because of the video dropping and then all the different perspectives coming out. And that is of course the reason as well that we asked for everyone's opinion, is because we just wanted to know what people felt about this. Like there's different ways of solving a lot of these problems, and we kind of want to know if this is a valid path for us to take.
Yeah.
And we might still do it anyway, no matter what people are saying, just to try it. And that is kind of the benefit as well of just being in early access and being able to change these things kind of on the fly. Because I think even if we change it, it's not going to have like a direct impact where it's not really going to ruin everyone's factory if we change it back and forth. It's a bit easier that way than it is with a lot of the other balancing issues that we have that we need to do more consideration.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just best to try a thing and just see how it rolls.
Yeah. I guess there's a lot of people, if they've like underclocked a lot and they're like perfectly balanced their power consumption or something, they might get a power spike or something.
Yeah.
But you know, I think for a lot of people it'll be a buff.
Yeah. And I think it's problems that are easier to solve than a whole production line being messed up because we changed the recipe, right? It's probably you just need to build a bit more power and you're good to go, rather than having to overhaul your entire setup.
Yeah. Are there any like compromises that you've seen that you felt like this is actually an interesting way to do, or like do you see any reason why any of the like different takes on how we could change the system apart from making it linear?
Yeah, I've seen some things. I'm not sure yet how valid.
Like, what is Mark's top 10 like alternate versions of overclocking? You know?
Yeah, I haven't stored them in my brain. Actually, when I started, and I've seen a suggestion before, when I started thinking of this, I was like, would it be fun to have upgrades in the MAM so that you could reduce the exponent as you progress through the game? Because especially what we were looking at back then when I started coming with that proposal was that we wanted to mostly make it more effective for endgame players to use it for that whole performance issue. Because we're like, what if we could make this nicer to use for endgame players and then fix the performance, and then also explain to players, hey, there is an exponential growth here by having those upgrades. And I've seen that exact
Mark is rolling it out.
Oh god, is it good again?
Yeah, it's just like when you stop talking for a second, it just fixes itself. It's so weird.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
I've had it before in meetings as well. I'm not sure. I just need a new headset maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the headset or if it's like I always thought it was Teams
interference.
Yeah, maybe it's interference. I don't know.
We're on Discord now.
Yeah, so maybe it's not Teams actually. Ooh, weird. Anyway, sorry.
But yeah, I mean, I was saying that that exact suggestion, that from the proposal that I just described, I've seen that come by, and I really like generally how people are engaging with this. I think that's been the most fun part to see, where we ask like a question like this, and then the whole chat just explodes in the YouTube comments just about this topic, and there's so many different takes and people trying to like find midway solutions and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really just fun to look at. And it's, I mean, it's really useful for us because what we are really looking for is what is important to players, right? Like we want to know, sure, it's interesting to see the different solutions, but what we really want to know is what people want out of the system. What do they want out of the game, and how can we try to find a way that it supports these different player types that we're looking at here.
Yeah, for sure. What was I say? I got so fucking distracted by a comment in chat, and my whole day is ruined.
Off the balls.
No. Yeah, like one thing that I think is really interesting is like there's so many different takes on like ways to do it. I kind of stumped actually that there are so many different ways to. I guess that kind of like serves the purpose of like the problem that we're quote unquote solving or whatever. Is that like there's many solutions to the same thing, and I don't know if one is necessarily better than the other. But
Yeah.
we have like our own sort of set of like the thing you mentioned at the beginning of the rationale behind this decision, like the investigation of it, the things that we kind of want to investigate and look into solving. And maybe maybe linear overclocking is the way to go, or maybe it's not.
Yeah, no matter what, I think we will just try a thing. We've been discussing different ways to move forward it, because we might just also need more information on it. I mean, and that's again why it's good that we're having this discussion also with the community.
Yeah.
And then it will probably proceed. I mean, no matter what we do, there's going to be people that disagree with the decision, and they're going to probably keep talking about it, and that is fine because if we change something, we kind of need to know how people experience it after that as well. And I kind of keep swaying back and forth as well. We're like, but it's fun to have to trade off, but it kind of sucks that it isn't linear.
Yeah.
In these other scenarios, so
yeah,
it's just. I mean, it's a difficult topic. I don't think there is like a set one best. I mean, the trade-off, and that is the thing. I think that the people that kind of want to keep the system, they like the trade-off part, right? Because that is a big part of the game, is that you have to sometimes just make decisions between what is best for you in a certain situation.
Yeah.
That's kind of what a lot of our things are built upon, especially, for example, the alternate recipes.
Yeah. Because
I think yeah. Sorry.
Because I certainly know where I lay or like lie in this discussion. I like the way that it works right now with the trade-off, but I also don't build like I don't know if I think I build in like a sort of medium size range of like buildings because I've never gone full bonanza making like nutty like I want to make 5,000 sugar daddies per minute in my sugar daddy factory. Like I always go like I just want to get it done. I just want to finish this thing, and then if I can't make the ratio work out, then I'll overclock and make it work, and lay it out. And I like that trade-off because like that means that okay, but then I have to think about power. But I also know how the overclocking system works, and I know that is like a conscious decision that I make when I do overclock stuff. That I keep that in mind.
Yeah, but if that is the main issue, right? If we're really looking at the main issue being that people don't know how it works, then of course that's not a good enough reason to change the entire system. Then there's always ways to give feedback to make it clear. And I do think that like that size that you're describing building at, that is probably the right size for actually using the system.
Yeah.
Anyway, or being even smaller than that. Because what we want as well is that players that maybe aren't as hardcore with factory building might have more issues with it, but still want to play the game, that they have ways to compensate. There's like different ways to solve problems that don't require them to just keep building bigger and bigger to get more production going, or to solve an issue.
I don't know if you saw, I don't know why this reminded me of that, but I don't know if you saw, I can't remember if this was a tweet or if this was a video or somewhere, but I did a setup where I was powering particle accelerators with just biomass burners. And I was taking advantage of the fact that when you're underclock, they consume like almost no power. So I underclocked like 20 or 30 particle accelerators, and I had like 10 or whatever biomass burners just fueling that. So there's definitely mean potential in the current system.
No.
So fans of biomass burners, I will have you know, the current system is pretty good for that. So yeah, but I guess we'll see. I kind of want to touch a little bit on the topic of like, because one thing that people have brought up is like, would it be possible to do? Why not both? Would it be possible to have like some sort of setting, like when you start the game, to be like, I want linear power consumption, or I want the nonlinear trade-off thingy as an option.
Yeah. Uzu actually brought that up today as well to me. I think it could be nice. I mean, we've like having these more modes to customize your play experience.
Hmm.
And the way that this is kind of turning out with these different types of players wanting different things from the system is that maybe that is the perfect choice for us, right? Where you can customize how the system works for how you want to play the game. One issue that I see with it, and that's kind of generally with game modes, is that we don't want to divide, I think, the community too much. Now,
Oh, robot.
Oh, Mark.
There we go.
I think a nice thing right now when you play is that you kind of understand when other people are talking about the game, like the experience that they're having. You can communicate on the same level. And if we have a lot of players playing differently with these kind of settings, it's very hard to understand each other potentially with like the problems that people are facing and the things that you want to discuss.
Gotcha.
Within the community.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe that's just not something that we can avoid if we want players to be able to customize the experience more, which is what we do want to achieve in the end, I think.
Yeah.
So maybe it's it's maybe an issue, but it's not something that maybe can be solved and something we just have to live with in the end if we want to make the best experience.
Because like we kind of already have that, right, with the modded community and the people that play vanilla.
Yeah.
There's already a little bit of like segregation between like how people prefer to play the game. So we'll see. Because one thing one natural thing that comes up with that is because we're not planning to do game modes in this update. We're planning to do it later down the line. So, you know, could this be the case where like if we want to pursue that, then we maybe will hold off on this change and then maybe introduce it when we work on game modes or something like that? Or do you feel like...
I think if we feel like we want this change in some way, we probably will still push it for this update.
Gotcha.
Like I can't say right now it's going to be completely linear. Maybe we're going to reduce the exponent and just make it less harsh to make the trade-off. No, still.
Yeah. Because I definitely see the improvement for new players. I think that having like linear being sort of the base version, the base like default setting for this, if you will, whatever. Like I think it makes more sense when you're starting off playing the game.
You can play hardcore mode.
Yeah. Sugar Daddy drives. Yeah, exactly. That's the alternate recipe for that. Cool. So is there anything else you want to share about overclocking specifically before we move on?
I don't think so.
Cool. What'd you have for breakfast? That's the next topic.
I had
no.
lunch for breakfast.
Oh, nice. Me too.
I don't remember what that dish is called. It's like this typical Swedish thing where you have these kind of potato patties with like thick slices of bacon and lingon.
I don't.
It's not.
It's Chad, help me. Raggmunkar. Is that what you're thinking of?
I'm not sure, but it was good.
Yeah. Since I don't eat meat, I don't have it, but I know what you're talking about. I've never liked it.
No?
No, because I never liked meats from the beginning.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird, it's like sometimes I think about like, what is a traditional Swedish dish? I can never think of it. It's always like, oh, fucking meatballs and
blood.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, pizza panna is like another one that came to mind. But yeah, raggmunkar is a pretty typical classic Swedish one. Kroppkaka, that's another word for it, right? Anyway.
Wouldn't know.
This is what you get instead of talking about Final Fantasy. You get to talk about fucking weird Swedish food with Dutch Mark.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to touch a little bit about talk a little bit about Spire Coast. So I don't know if I said this in the beginning of the stream, fam, but the kind of next thing that we are gonna like show off and talk more about is the Spire Coast, because we've talked so much about it and we've given so many warnings about the Spire Coast, but you guys have no idea what it is. Like, you know, you haven't seen anything from it apart from the teaser that we showed in the last week's video. And there's a few things that I kind of want to touch on with Mark regarding like, you know, what it actually entails by changing the Spire Coast, because we made the choice. I don't know can you correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've ever changed the node layout when we made updates to the game so far.
We've done it a few times.
We have?
Yeah, so due nestor definitely, because there were nodes there, if I'm not mistaken, and we did something completely different with that area, so we had to change that.
Right.
And I do remember that we've done it before because we've had to look into what issues that would cause.
Gotcha.
One big benefit that we have is that the miner knows still that it was built on a node and what node that was. So if we move them, anything that you build on those things will still extract in a normal way, right?
Yeah.
It's just that that node is now in a place where it looks like it isn't being used, but it actually is already taken. So you will just have a bunch of nodes if you build in that area and then move your factory.
Yeah.
That appear as if they're empty, but of course your extractor is still taking resources from it,
Yeah.
and it's already taken.
And I believe this is, I kind of missed in the beginning if you said this is how it used in the past, but I think this is kind of how it's going to work now as well, right? If you have placed any extractors on nodes that are moved, the extractor will still function. It will just look weird. And I think that is still true because that's definitely been in the past, and I think that still holds true for this update. So if you have factories in the Spire Coast, they will sort of still function. They will clip through the environment, as far as I know. They just will look weird, and it's possible they might be like. It's possible they might be clipping into environments, so you might not be able to reach them. I don't know if you guys have heard of the tools that exist around Satisfactory, like save editing tools. They're gonna have to work overtime once we drop update 6, because there are ways to like remove stuff and move the stuff in those editors to get around that stuff. But yeah, like the nodes that we have in the Spire Coast at the moment, like how significantly are they moving? Would you say?
Quite significantly. I mean, they're still kind of going to be in the same area of that zone, but they are just not in the same spot anymore.
Gotcha.
And we kind of shuffled them around a little bit because we wanted to have the transition from the different areas around it to be a little bit different when it comes to how you get to those nodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the same amount of oil nodes, same purity. So it's in that sense, it's completely the same. You can still get the same stuff
Okay.
there.
So it's more of a move of the current nodes that are there.
Yeah, we just had to shuffle them around a bit, and because we didn't want to be restricted by how they were placed necessarily. Initially, we were like, yeah, let's try to build around them, but it's just better to move them and be done with it.
Mm.
Because I mean,
Outside,
anyone that has, sorry.
go ahead.
Oh yeah, because anyone that has built a factory there, it's gonna be fucked anyway.
Wait, repeat that because
So,
Robot Mark just took over.
oh god, I was saying that anyone who has built a factory there on those nodes, like the only reason for us to keep them there is to not mess up then how your factory setup looks.
Hmm?
But I mean, it's gonna be fucked anyway because you're gonna have giant cliffs straight for your buildings.
Yeah, that's true.
So it didn't really make sense for us to try to restrict ourselves with how we built that area because of the nodes that are placed there.
Yeah.
So we just moved them.
Are there any? Do you remember this? I don't know if you've stared at the old Spire Coast a lot and remember how it looks, but were there any crash sites in the old Spire Coast?
I don't think so because we specifically held off on passing it
Oh wait,
too
let's
much.
say that again. We're losing you, Mark. Come over.
Is it just getting worse now?
No, it's not getting worse. It's like it just randomly happens sometimes.
It's kind of fucked.
Yeah.
No, I don't think there were crash sites. I can't say 100% sure. There were some on the cliff wall.
Yeah.
So if you look at Spire Coast, and I'm looking at it right now with this map that I have, there's this canyon there between what is Spire Coast and what is Northern Forest. And that canyon, from Hannah's perspective, that is part of Spire Coast. So that canyon has also changed.
Yeah.
And there were crash sites there and exploration rewards and creatures.
Yeah, there were.
So they're gonna be fixed up. Something to mention for Spire Coast is that we won't have the time to fully pass it with gameplay.
Yeah.
So while the nodes and creatures that were still there are probably still going to be there, and the nodes definitely, right, and the creatures are going to be moved around as well, so they're not spawning inside of cliffs. We're also going to do a pass on passive creatures to make the area not feel completely dead. But we're probably not going to have all the hostiles we want in that area there yet. We're not going to have slugs or any other exploration rewards besides crash sites. There will be crash sites there. And that's mostly because we don't want those crash sites to then later pop up inside of your factory and none because you can't remove them currently, right? So that would be annoying.
Gotcha.
But seeing as you can pick up the slugs, for example, we're gonna just place those later because we don't have the time to do that now. Something important to note as well for that is that there will be more resources later in that area, like supplementary resources like more copper, maybe sulfur, quartz, or caterium, and probably a bunch of iron. And again, we're not placing those yet either because we need to have a deeper look in our entire resource spread across the world, which is something that we also don't have time for right now. So we would otherwise just place them temporarily and have to change them later probably. So we don't want to do that. So we're just gonna place them yet and do it later.
All right. I'm sure you said something really cool at the end there, but but yeah, essentially, there's more things to come with the Spire Coast later down the line. Not in update 6 necessarily, but we're still gonna keep working on it. So yeah, there's gonna be more info about the Spire Coast, you guys, in a future video. We also will have Hannah on stream next after that video. I don't know exactly. I don't know if it'll be next week or the week after. We're kind of like shamming with the schedule right now, so it might. You never know what's gonna happen. So, so yeah, more exciting things to talk about the Spire Coast. I think it'll be more exciting to talk about it too when you guys actually have seen it and get a sense of like what changes actually have happened, because it is a beefy biome that replaces like a pretty empty area, I would say, previously, because that whole area, like including that canyon, has always felt a bit like empty, and a bit work in progress, because it has, and now it's coming. So yes, this is the Spire Gulf Coast. No, go away.
Maybe.
What? Shut up, Mark. Don't fucking no. Don't do this. He lied. Don't give them hope. Oh shit! Look what you done. Can I say how much I appreciate when we did the premiere of the video? There was one segment in the video where I talk about like why we're doing the change, and I need to actually look up the phrase I say here. But I think I say something like, I think I say something down the line of like, we have to focus on what's best for the game, not what's most exciting. And chat just fucking lit up with golf comments. Oh my god. So yeah, tropical golf course, sure, whatever. So yeah, I think, let me see if there's anything else I want to bring up here. My list has been filled out of things that I wanted to bring up. So happy days.
Yeah. I don't have anything else either anymore, I think.
Cool. We have nothing interesting to say to each other.
Nope.